What does it mean to be a leader? This has been a question that in my life I have had to deal with maybe for the last 4 to 5 years. How to be a leader, what are the qualities of a leader, and why is it good to be a leader? These are types of things that in my life have been pretty topical for me. Not just because I was the captain of my team for a little while, my football teams on my football journey. I had many times where I was captain, where I was kind of like the makeshift leader in certain situations. I was learning about what leadership actually looks like. Many other situations in my life have kind of caused me to realize what a true leader actually looks like versus I guess what fake leading looks like, what things that maybe aren't necessarily qualities of a leader. So in this episode I'm going to be going over what those qualities of a leader are, what it means to actually be a good leader, what leadership looks like, and how it can be something that you lift other people up with you in your life, regardless of where you're at right now. I think we all need a little level of leadership, that ability to step up when it matters most and be that guy, be the guy in a certain situation. And I'm going to be going over a bunch of examples of my football journey where leadership was maybe lacking or where it was actually prevalent, and how it's helped me, how it's helped the people around me, and kind of how it actually looks like in kind of your life, in a, whether it be a sporting environment or a working environment or whatever it may be, even in a relationship, or even like in a church environment. What does a leader actually look like? So that is what I'm going to be talking about in today's episode. I'm actually surprised that I haven't actually talked about it yet, like this much in depth, like actually giving an episode talking fully about it, because it is something that actually means a lot to me. It's something it is pretty prevalent in my life. It is something that I think about often, and I think about how I can be a leader to the people around me in my life. So the first thing is obvious. Like, I was the captain of my team for a couple of years when I was in Canada the first time, and then I went to Portugal. I ended up becoming the captain of my team in the first season. And then in the second season, like, I didn't really have that opportunity to be the captain, but I feel like maybe I should have been the captain, but I didn't really have that opportunity. I kind of was able to be the captain in like the final game of the season as like a commemorative thing, but it wasn't really like I wasn't like the leader in that dressing room second season. First season I absolutely was, though. And I remember I went on a pro trial, the first trial I went on in 2024 with that third division team in Portugal, where like a couple of the guys on that team said, "Hey, like, you look like a leader, like you're like a captain type of guy." And even if I didn't really have as good of a knowledge of the Portuguese language back then, like, I knew what they were saying, and it was like, yeah, like, I'm the captain of my team, like the team that I was playing for, I'm the captain. So glad you noticed that, right? So there are moments in my life where me as a leader is seen and is recognized from others, and there are moments where maybe other people don't necessarily see me as a leader, I guess. So that's kind of down to me, that I have to be a little bit more consistent with how I lead. But that's why it's something important to me, because it's definitely like that's definitely been a huge part of my life, being in sporting environments and learning about truly what it means to be a leader, what it means to be like a role model to other people on a team, right? It can be applied to any other situation in life. Of course, that's why I give football examples for most of the concepts that I think about and talk about on the show, because it can very well be applied to life. So, what is a leader? The first quality of a leader is communication, right? You have to be able to kind of be a little bit more extroverted. You want to actually be able to talk to the people that you're trying to lead and communicate properly, right? So, on the football pitch, what that meant for me, and that's why I was selected as the captain in a lot of teams, is because maybe I'm not so vocal off the pitch, but when I'm on the field, I am the one organized, right? As a center back, you have to be that. So I'm the one organizing the defense, telling when to go up, when to push back, helping out the team, giving people encouragement. When someone's kind of down, I'll put my arm around their shoulder, help them out a little bit. Let's go, get up, keep moving. We got this, right? When some situation happens in the game, like, I have to be one of the ones immediately at the scene, right? Because that's how it works, especially in football. It's like the captain is the one that has to deal with these situations. And in some places, the captain is like the only one that's allowed to talk to the referee. They made that a rule for a little bit. I don't know if that's still a thing. The captain's the only one allowed to talk to a referee if a situation happens. And whenever I had to go in that situation, I would go, I'd step in, I'd make it happen, right? So that kind of communication, that stepping up type of nature, that's what it means to be a leader. I think, at least in the beginning stages. What a leader is not is the person that is yelling and screaming at each other at everyone and just kind of putting people down. He's loud, he's kind of outgoing and he's engaging, but it's really a lot of negativity. I've had captains like that. I've had people that were team captains in my team that probably shouldn't have been captain because that was kind of their mindset. They didn't actually lead. They didn't actually move you as a collective into a positive direction. It was a lot of negativity coming out of his mouth. And definitely a couple times in my life I've had that happen where a captain was just not the leader that our team was looking for. And we saw it. We saw it. A lot of people lacked confidence because you didn't have that person bringing them up. A leader is someone who brings people up, like brings people together, brings people up, motivates, for lack of a better word, motivates them, and gets them, consolidates them is a good word to, comforts them is a good word to describe it. When things go wrong, you're not going to be kind of hard on people. You're going to say, all right, let's go, get up, keep moving, we got this, all right, you got this, stay confident, don't get inside your own head, right? Those are qualities of a leader, and it involves communication because you're communicating, but you have to communicate the right things. You don't want to be all negative about it. You want to bring people up, and you want to kind of bring the collective up. As a leader, you are a role model. You want to be the example to other people. There are leaders, there are captains that they're not very vocal, they're not very loud, but but their demeanor, their attitude in the game, how they play the game is an example to how other people can feed off of so then they can elevate their game as well. So there are captains, there are leaders that are like that. They're not so vocal, but there are other leaders that are vocal, that they'll be communicating, and that's kind of where I was at. Like I was the communicator. I was the one trying to organize things, make things good, motivate people, bring people up. At least I tried my best. Sometimes it wasn't the greatest. Sometimes I definitely fell short for sure, but no one's perfect, right? But as a leader, there's different leadership styles. You can do it in different ways, and that's okay. But a leader should be someone who communicates well, who brings someone or the group up to a higher level, sets the standard, motivates people, brings people up rather than puts them down, right? And is a positive role model and influence and example to everyone else in that environment. That is probably the true definition of a leader. Those are all the qualities that a leader should possess, right? Not saying you have to be absolutely perfect because no one's perfect, right? But from a footballing standpoint, the best teams have a captain that is exactly that embodies those principles. Whether it is off the field, in the locker room, you're helping out with tactics, you're helping people that are nervous kind of get into the flow, motivating them, kind of getting them to get rid of their nerves a little bit. Or if it is on the field, you're communicating, you're doing what you need to do on the field. I feel like that was more so my leadership style. Like I wouldn't be the type of guy to like I had a few times where like I'd be the one leading the team talk, doing it, but I wouldn't do it that often. I was the type of guy that once you get onto the field, it's business. We're doing it. Like, let's go, right? Let's go. Be loud. Motivate others, right? Get others kind of hyped for the game as well. Raise other people's levels. That's kind of what I was doing with my leadership style. But there are other people that maybe they're not as loud and vocal on the field, but off the field they're maybe more comforting, right? More comforting, consolidating of people. That's good. That is also a great quality of a leader. Why is it important to be a leader? Why is it important to have a leader in your team? Why, like, if you're a football team or whatever situation you're in, why do you need a leader? Why can't you all just kind of go along and be equal, right? Because you need someone to set the standard, truly. Like, even like coaches, right? Coaches are leaders, right? Soccer coaches, they are leaders, right? Teachers, they're leaders, right? Bosses, workplace, people higher up, those are leaders. There are good leaders, there are bad leaders. I mean, especially in the workplace, a lot of bad bosses, a lot of bad leaders in that place, right? But in sporting environments, the successful teams have a good coach, a coach that is a leader, and a captain that is a leader on the field. So you have the off-the-field leader and the on-the-field leader, right? And if they're actually good at what they do and they're good at leading and motivating and bringing people up and setting the standard, then the team will do well more times than not, right? But you need a leader to set the standard. If everyone is kind of on an equal playing field, there's no standard. There's no real structure. There's nothing really bringing you up, right? You're all just kind of in the same playing field. You can have multiple different leaders in your team at the same time that aren't the captain. And that's really good, right? Because again, you just bring people up and you increase the standard, you increase the level, and you just increase the amount, I guess, the competency, and you increase the confidence in maybe the the people that are maybe a little bit more quiet, a little more reserved, a little bit maybe not confident, nervous, right? Anxious about things, right? You can have multiple different leaders. You have your main leader, you have your coach who's a leader, and you can have multiple different leaders. And that is kind of the formula for a successful football team. You have to have that. You can honestly be that and not have as much talent. Like, there was a team that, like my team that I was playing with, the senior team, like they had some great players, they had some quality players, but I wouldn't say that they had like crazy talent. Like there was a couple players that had that talent, but like overall around the team is pretty like dogged. Like it was pretty like, hard grinding, tackles, sliding in, bits between the teeth, right? Like actually, going 2 foot tackles type of thing, like really going in, grinding it out, right? But they had a manager who had a vision, right? He was a great coach that taught me a lot of things when I eventually got to that level. He had a structure. He was a good leader. He kind of had his philosophy. He was pretty harsh, right? From like a woke perspective, like maybe he was harsh, right? Like the coaching standards, let's say, like some of these online courses that I was looking at, because you have to do this to become a coach. It's like there's some like very weird things about like how you have to be soft and stuff. I had this coach, he was hard on the players, but you knew that he cared about you, and that is the quality of a leader, and that is why they were successful, because they had a coach who knew what he was doing. They had a couple of good leaders on the field, keeping things organized, bringing people up, not putting people down. They had their own traditions, their own things that kind of kept the team together, kept them bonding, kept them motivated, kept them moving forward, and they won the league title because of it. And that's the formula for a successful team. So I find that absolutely translates to every other aspect of life, right? The formula for success in any group setting is you have a leader or a couple of leaders, and everyone's level is kind of increased and heightened as a result of good leadership qualities. And yes, sometimes like it depends on it depends on the situation, right? Like I think a little bit of harshness is good. A good leader, here's a sidebar, right? A good leader knows when you have to be a little bit harsh to someone, and we have to be a little bit softer, give a little bit more grace, right? There are the people that maybe there may be the people that, like, let's say, like, just continuing with the whole football example here, right? Guy has like, maybe a shorter attention span, like he loses concentration a little bit quickly. You need to maybe scream at him a little bit, like get him really focused again, be like, hey, yo, lock in, right? Maybe say a little bit more than just that, right? You need to kind of actually like wake him up a little bit. I've definitely played with players like that, where it's like they kind of half-ass it a little bit. They're just kind of like, they're there for fun, right? They're not really serious about things. But if you're trying to win the game, you got to be serious. Those are the types of players that probably do benefit from a little bit like of a little harshness. But then the person who's very self-conscious about himself, right? He makes a mistake and he sinks further into his shell. That's not the player you want to be harsh towards. That guy, you're going to scream at him, you're going to yell at him, you're going to be angry at him. He's only going to sink deeper into his shell. He's going to think that everyone's against him. It's only going to be worse, right? So that's the type of guy you want to be a little bit more soft. Put your arm around him and be like, hey, man, like it's okay. You're going to be okay, right? Let's go. You got this. You're a good player, right? You say more motivating things to. A good leader knows when to differentiate, right? There was a baseball player, and I'm giving a baseball example because this is something that was actually interesting. His name is Dalton Rushing. He is the LA Dodgers backup catcher. And basically, I guess he's kind of gotten a reputation of being a bit of an ass, right? He's being a bit rude, a bit of a douche on the field. And there were some disagreements with the pitcher Shohei Ohtani, obviously best baseball player in the world. So why would you be the guy to disagree with him? But he was there and he was kind of embarrassed a bit. And then like you had Freddie Freeman, who's also a veteran player. He comes, he consolidates him a little bit. Dave Roberts, the manager, like literally like there's a video like he puts his arm around him, like he's talking to him a little bit. And then he like says after in like the interview that it's like he's kind of embarrassed. He said he was embarrassed that like they had to be so soft on him because he's a grown man. That type of a guy, he benefits from the harshness. He benefits from kind of like someone being super hard on him, being like, "Hey, wake up, dude." And I feel like that guy, he would really like rise up if you were harder on him. I think it's fine to like like kind of, arm around the shoulder. It's a great quality in a manager and other players that are being leaders. Like, I'm not criticizing them. I'm saying that from a leadership perspective, that guy is the type of guy that definitely, if you're harsh on him, he will take that in his stride. He will let that be his fuel. Whereas there's another guy probably on that same team. I don't know. I'm not giving an example, but another guy probably on that same team. He does something wrong. If you're harsh on him, he's gonna kind of just be worse, right? So you maybe want to be a little bit softer to him. You want to have that kind of arm around the shoulder. So I think all of that kind of little controversy came about because of leadership styles. I think a guy like Dalton Rushing definitely needs to kind of a little talking to, a little slap on the wrist, right? A little like get back to it, right? And he will take that. He will use that, right? Because he's that type of guy. Anger is his primary emotion that's made him who he is now, that's gotten him to where he is, and now it's just kind of spilling over a little bit too much into confrontations, arguments, problems, right? So how do you manage that as a coach, as a teammate, as a captain? I think the Dodgers, they're doing a good job of it, but I'd say like that type of a guy is a primary candidate for a little bit of harsh words, right? Whereas like, again, another guy who's a little bit softer, you want to kind of have that arm around the shoulder. So a good leader is able to know when you need to be a little bit harsh, when you need to be a little bit soft. A good leader knows that. And that's a leadership quality that's very, very important, that maybe is kind of moving away, I guess, in sports because they're trying to promote the whole be soft participation award type of stuff. But it's like, if you want to win the game, you need to know what is going to give you the best chance of winning the game, right? If you're a guy that's a hothead and runs hot a little bit, but uses the anger, and when he's angry, he plays better, you may want to make him a little bit angry, just truly because that's the way you can increase the chances of you winning. The guy that makes a mistake, if he kind of shrinks into his shell, you don't want him to make him even more depressed and more angry and self-conscious and insecure. You want to bring him up, right? So a good leader knows when to do both. Ideally, it's more bringing up. Like, all of it's to bring people up in the end. But you need to know that like a good leader is like, that's why communication is the number one aspect. You're telling a person, if you're harsh on someone, a good leader will also be like, hey, I'm just doing this because I know that this helps you do better, or I'm just doing this because I want you to do better. And if you don't like it, let me know and I'll change the way I kind of talk to you, right? A good leader is very communicative with that, and it's very clear, and it's a very high level of clarity the way you want to be dealing with it. Those are qualities of a leader. I think at times in my life, I've had that. At times I have not had that. So I'm still working on it. I'm still growing and learning. But from a sporting perspective, in a sporting environment, that's absolutely kind of the case. Is success comes the more leaders are there, right? The coaches are leaders. The coach is the primary leader, and of course the captain is the player leader, and there are other leaders, of course, in the team. The more leaders you have, the higher the chance that you actually will do well, right? But I think a leader is important because in a group setting, whatever group you're in, whatever community you're in, you have people that are more outgoing, you'll have people that are more reserved, right? That's just kind of human nature, right? You have the extroverts, you have the introverts, right? You have the people that are kind of in the middle, you have the people that are maybe cocky and arrogant, maybe they go too far, and then you also have the people that are maybe depressed and anxious and go too far on the other end of the spectrum. And then maybe you have like just kind of a wonky little middle ground where there's the movable middle, right? There's so many people just kind of in the middle, just kind of chilling, right? In that type of group, you want to try and manage all of these personality types in a way where you can all come together and grow together. And a leader that can kind of make that happen and put everyone together in that way is a good leader. And is a leader that will facilitate the success of that group. If it's a sporting environment, if it's a working environment, if it's in a classroom environment, whatever it may be, a leader is very good at bringing everyone together and making everyone kind of be on a level playing field, really, right? Humbling the people that maybe need some humblings and bringing the people up that need to be brought up. And being able to differentiate that and communicate in as clear of a way as possible, those are great, great qualities of a leader. And that is what it means to be a leader, and that is why being a leader is important, because it definitely does facilitate the success. If there's no leader in the group, it'll be just all chaotic, right? And again, I've seen that. I've played in environments where that's the case. There's no leader, and it's chaotic, and you see the result of it, right? So as for that, that's where like a leader maybe is the most prevalent, is in a group setting, right? When there's multiple different people that kind of need guidance in some way, and you're the person that's there and you're going to take control of the situation, right? But you got to be careful, right? You don't want to go too far. You don't want to be a control freak. You don't want to be a perfectionist, right? You don't want to chastise people if they don't raise their level to the standard that you set, right? You need to have that balance, and you need to know when someone needs that arm put around them, and when you need to give someone a little bit of grace, right? Leaders know when that is the case. I think maybe that's something that can be trained, but a lot of that really is like you either have it or you don't. I think it really is like you have it or you don't. I think it can be trained, but the only way you train is by making the mistakes, is by actually, you go too far when talking to someone and you make the mistake and you realize, I probably shouldn't have said that to him. Maybe I should have been a little bit more reserved. And then that's how you learn different styles of communication with different people, right? And that's how you grow as a leader. I think a lot of that can be learned, but most of it, that kind of outgoing nature, that kind of motivational type of thing, you either have it or you don't. I think, and you shouldn't be ashamed if you're not a leader. You don't need to be ashamed, right? It's okay, right? Because you have a role all the same, and you can be maybe like a mini leader, even if you're not like the main leader. If you're not the captain, you're not the coach, you can be like a mini leader in your team, in your group setting, and bring people up in your own way. It doesn't need to be like the big extravagant stuff, but yeah, like it's okay if you're not a leader, and even if you are the type of guy that's just kind of more reserved, that's fine. Like you don't need to feel shame and guilt just because you're not so outgoing. It's just because you're a different person, and that's okay, right? There'll be other people that take control, and that's okay. If you guys can have the proper balance of things, it will make your group heighten each other and grow with each other in an even better way. And that is the kind of essence of what it means to be a leader. So a leader can also be in a I guess like a church session. Like if you have a group of Christians, right, and you're trying to study the Bible, right? Bible study, let's say. You should have a leader there that maybe knows a little bit more about it, that can analyze it better, that maybe leads the discussion, the conversation. That only helps everyone else kind of grow, learn the Holy Word, get closer to God, and grow in faith with each other. Like I think in my life, that's maybe something I need. I need to be spending a lot more time with people of faith, that I may also be able to grow in faith even more. Obviously, I still have strong faith, always, man. But I find that it would probably be even stronger if I was in a group where there would be like maybe like a bigger leader that maybe knows a lot more about the Bible and about the teaching than I do, and he comes together and we have like a great discussion, and we have someone that can lead the discussion and make it good, make it fruitful, right? So from like a church perspective, from a religious perspective, spirituality perspective, godly perspective, a leader in the church is someone who helps people get closer to God. It is someone who, not through hate, not through criticizing, through just pure love, pure understanding the Word, learning the Word, and rejoicing in the Word, helps people get closer to God. And then also leadership in relationships, right? Leadership in relationships a lot different because it's not a group setting, right? All of these other things are group settings, right? The sporting environments, workplace environments, church environment, it's all a group setting, right? So the idea of a leader in that case is to bring everyone else in the group up, right? Understand what different people need and communicate in the best way possible, and be the guy that steps up when it matters most. In a relationship, it's only you and your partner, right? So leadership maybe looks a little bit different, right? But I think it's probably even a little bit easier, right? Because there's only one person you have to manage, and that's the person you're with, right? That's one person that you have to understand what their personality type is, understand like what they want from you, communicate clearly with each other, and lead them to living a good life, just as you want to live a good life. You're together, right? You are a part of each other's lives. It should absolutely be necessary that you have a leader, and you have not the follower, but the person that also has different leadership qualities. So that's probably a good way to explain it without being so controversial. Like you have the leader in one thing, and you have the leader in the other thing, right? And if you can kind of make that happen together and be very clear in communication with each other, that's kind of a good basic formula for a successful relationship, right? You need to know what each other wants, right? What you want from each other, right? And if you have that clear communication, you have those leadership qualities, you step up for each other and you sacrifice yourself for each other, that's what makes a successful relationship. Again, it's a little bit of a different dynamic than like a group setting leadership type of thing, but it is absolutely still necessary that you are a leader in your household as well, because well, and if you're in a relationship, I've eventually, most likely, you'll want to have kids, and you want to be a leader, a role model to your kids, and being a leader is being a role model, being an example, right? So it's a different dynamic. It's a little bit different, but kind of a lot of the same principles apply. You want to be a role model. You want to instill your values on them, and you want to be clear in your communication. You want to step up when it matters. When there's a little bit of pressure, you want to be the guy that goes in and volunteers himself to step up for the good of the team, for the good of the group, for the good of your partner. Great qualities of a leader. Great qualities of a leader. Again, you don't want to be harsh. You don't want to kind of talk out of turn. You don't want to hate. Those are not qualities of a leader. And I think kind of to wrap up this whole leadership discussion is really to talk about Jesus Christ, right? Jesus Christ is the ultimate leader. He is the example for us to follow. God steps down on this earth and becomes flesh in the form of Jesus Christ, and he is the ultimate leader. He set the standard, the example, through his words, through his actions, through his teachings, through how he lived his life, who he had with him in his life, how he developed them, and how he ordained them to his ministry. It's an example for all of us how to live our lives. And that is the ultimate quality of a leader. Someone who is a role model, someone who gives the example to set, to follow, the standards to reach. So before anything else, when thinking about how you want to be a leader to the people around you, think about how Jesus is a leader to you in your own life. By understanding the Word of God, by learning about what Jesus talks about, his nature, his demeanors, what he actually talks about, right? It's serving, right? And a very important verse is, he who is great among you, let him be your servant. Very important verse, Matthew chapter 20, I believe. Is because the leadership isn't just you stamping your authority and power on people. It is truly being humble, serving them, but you want to help people because you're serving them for their greater good, for their betterment, and for the betterment of the group in general. So when being a leader, when you're put in a leadership position, or if you're trying to develop your leadership qualities, I think first and foremost, before doing anything else, you should look at what Jesus did and how he exemplified many amazing leadership qualities that I've talked about in this episode and that are seen in this world today. And think to yourself how you can exemplify that, how you can mimic that, and how you can use those qualities to be a leader, to step up when it matters, and to help your group or your people or your partner move in a better direction in your life. And I think that's a great path to follow. It's a great set of guidelines and instructions to follow. And Jesus is, of course, the greatest role model to follow when it comes to leadership, and really, of course, when it comes to everything else in life. So that's kind of how I'm going to end this whole leadership talk, is by just the obvious one. It's like Jesus Christ is the ultimate leader. Give your life up to him, right? That's the message I give in these episodes basically every day. So that is, I think, the truth. And the more I think about it, the more I kind of talk about what it means to be a leader. I see when people are not leaders, right? I've been in environments where people are not leaders, and of course everyone else kind of suffers as a result. Everyone is a little bit miserable as a result. And I've been in situations where people are leaders, and it's actually everyone's lifting each other up and things are good, right? A lot of it really does exemplify the teaching of Jesus and how he set the standard for us as a leader. Regardless of the setting you're in, you should be the guy to set the standard in a positive way, in a loving manner, not in a hateful manner, not in a bringing people down type of manner, in a bringing people up and setting the standard from a positive perspective, and remembering just how Jesus does it, and kind of go out there and do the same types of things, right? Do the same types of things, and you'll find that as a leader, you will grow. You will grow as a leader. And yes, if you're ever put in the situation where you have to be the guy to step up, do it. Do it with full confidence. Don't have any fear of it. Don't have any fear of embarrassment or anything, even if you don't really know what you're doing. That's also a great quality of a leader. Just pure stepping up when it matters most, when the pressure's on, when there are fears, stepping up and getting the job done. So those are some of the qualities of a leader. Maybe I didn't cover all of it, but I'm sure I went through most of it. But if you've ever been in a sporting environment, I'm sure you can relate when you've had a leader in your dressing room, when you had a good coach who was a leader, who was a positive role model, versus when you did not have that. And you could maybe see the difference in your performance on the field, and I guess your relationships with people off the field too, were probably maybe skewered as a result as well. So that is kind of the whole breakdown of what it means to be a leader. Leadership is very important in my life. I've definitely been in positions where I've had to be the leader. Sometimes I do well. Sometimes maybe I look back and I could have done it a little bit better. But it's definitely something important. And I think maybe the most formidable, exceptional people in this world are leaders. They are people who really exemplify those qualities. Not the world leaders, not like government leaders. They're not real leaders. They're not real leaders because they don't actually set a good example to the society which they're supposed to be governing and leading. So that's not something you should be looking at, and that's not something I'm really talking about in this episode. But there are many, many great leaders, right? So you should even go do some research for yourself, right? Find the great leaders throughout sport, right? Throughout sporting history, right? I saw a clip recently, Euro 2016, Ronaldo talking to João Moutinho, right? João Moutinho is like kind of off to the side. He doesn't want to take the penalty, right? It's a penalty shootout. It's like a knockout game. If you lose, you're out of the tournament, right? Ronaldo tells him, "Come here. You're going to take a penalty. You take penalties well. Just have confidence. If you miss, it doesn't matter, right?" So it's like he was giving him confidence. That's a leadership quality right there. He's picking out the guy that he knows will do better, and he's motivating him. He's giving him confidence, and he scored the penalty, right? Moutinho scored the penalty. They won the penalty shootout, and they moved on to the next round, right? So that's a great example of leadership. So find leaders in sports and in like other sectors, other settings that are true leaders, and find ways to find what they do, right? Figure out what they do and try and exemplify that in your own life as well. And of course, let Jesus be the number one example and role model of how to be a leader in your life as well. But being a leader, I think, is a very good quality. It's a very noble quality. And if you want to make it great in this world, being a leader, and of course, serving others, don't forget that verse, right? Serving others through leadership is an amazing way to get there, right? It's an amazing way to get to that level of exceptional life, right? Which is, I guess, maybe where we all want to get to at one point or another. But you don't just be a leader just to do that. Like, you want to be a leader because you want to help others. That's really the main point of being a leader in general. And the more you think about the verse, the more you think about God's teaching, but the more you think about everything I've really talked about today, you realize, oh yeah, the point of being a leader is to help others. It's not necessarily for yourself. It's about kind of sacrificing a lot of yourself and a lot of your time, a lot of your energy to help others live up to the standard and bring people up so that the overall success may be had, right? So when you think about leadership, always think about that you're first and foremost helping other people succeed. And people that can facilitate that are great leaders. So find them. Find examples of that. And if that's a path that you want to go on as well, you should look at what it means to be a leader and how to get there, right? Because again, like, coaches are leaders, right? Personal trainers are leaders. Captains are leaders, right? If you're a teacher in some way, whether it's online teaching or if it's like literal teaching a class, you're a leader in some way as well. So if you want to get to the point where you're good at what you do, you need those leadership qualities. You need to be a good role model to people. And you need to serve others and help others grow. So let that be the thing you think about when you're kind of going about your life, if that is somewhere you want to go to. So thank you for watching this episode. I appreciate you for being here. As always, show your support as much as you can on this show by leaving a like, subscribing on YouTube, following on Spotify, doing all that good stuff if you haven't done any of that yet. I appreciate you for being here. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're going to be doing going forward when it comes to all of this that I've talked about. I've kind of really just thrown it all at you. So it's literally like throw it all out and see what sticks, basically. It's like whatever quality you want to work on, maybe take it one at a time. Like, if you struggle with anger, let's say, you should maybe look at that and work on that rather than trying to kind of do it all at once. You may want to take it one step at a time. You don't want to overstress yourself when you're growing as a leader and you're growing in your leadership qualities. But I hope this episode gave you something to think about, something to look towards, something to truly help you in some way in your life. And if it did that, then that's really all that matters. So thank you for watching this episode of the 365 Podcast. Show your support in any way that you can. Continue to glorify God every day throughout your life. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow for the next one.